Generative AI is taking that to a whole other level. And that means that it creates content from very little input.
The key thing also is to use this. Let's not be outside the AI world. It's kind of like the internet. How many people are using internet or voicemail?
Because I think the real thing with AI, of course, there's going to be people that lose their jobs. But there's the people that kind of understand what's happening and become like the prompt orchestrators, learning how to use AI efficiently. That's going to be the huge emerging world.
So how can we implement that to better postings and others, or how do you do it? The other question I want to ask is, how many times should someone post in these social channels in a day? That's a good question in my mind.
I'll start with the latter one first. I mean, how long is a piece of string? I mean, it's really like, answering that question is so difficult. It depends on your audience, right? It depends on the channel that you're in. And so let's take, for example, LinkedIn, and you're a salesperson on LinkedIn and you're trying to cultivate, prospects. By the way, LinkedIn has a ton of knowledge on this type of stuff. So does Google, so does every other social platform, because they want you to be more engaged, right? But in LinkedIn, if all you do is post sales related content and always trying to push for the sale, you're not going to have as much engagement as if you put something personal that's about you, that's maybe about your business, maybe about a passion project, and then you throw in, right, some things around what you do for work and why it's important and how you can help people. And so there is an art and science to digital. So the art piece being something creative, like what you mentioned about YouTube videos, and the science is how do you actually get it out there? And you were talking a lot about like evergreen content, right? The idea of building once and distributing in multiple places. That is, I think, a place where AI, I'll lead into AI now, can really come into play. I mean, I think if you're an entrepreneur right now, AI is probably one of your best friends. It is really going to change the game, particularly within marketing. About 90% of marketers say that they're going to use some form of generative AI in the future. That's huge. And so let me just take a step back and explain a little bit about like what all that means. If you've ever used an online concierge, if you've ever used a chatbot, you're already using some form of artificial intelligence. It's just that intelligence up to date used to be about analyzing the content that you were putting in there, learning, machine learning in the background, and spitting out better answers. So we've all been using AI. Generative AI is taking that to a whole other level. And that means that it creates content from very little input. So you could go to ChatGPT or any one of these platforms and say, I'd like to create a poem in Polish about my love. And all of a sudden, within seconds, you'll get something that feels like a relatively okay first draft. And that's, I think, the power of what it can do for new marketers coming in with limited time, limited money, is you can use some of these AI tools now to very simply put in a few inputs, and it'll spit out content for social. It'll spit out content for blogs, for articles. You can even do search optimized content, and it'll generate it for you. Now, will it be perfect? No, but what it will give you is that first draft. And that's often the hardest part, is getting that first bit of content that you can then go ahead and edit. So it's going to cut down the time to market for a lot of different brands. And I think this is like the entrepreneur's best friend, because you're going to be able to create things very quickly and try and put it out into the marketplace, much faster than you possibly could before.
If you're not, I'm already using AI. I'm already using ChatGPT. Now I'm creating images on ChatGPT 4. You can, I said the other day I closed a deal. It was a what we call a bridge loan. I said, create an image of a bridge with a superhero. And it created this amazing image. And it's like, and then I uploaded it. I wrote a recently funded article all on ChatGPT in like 2 minutes. Okay. Yeah. So building prompts and all these things and so this is how like the little guy is going to be able to be a bigger guy by using ChatGPT. So solopreneurs, small entrepreneur shops that don't necessarily want to be a huge corporation. Our fields are leveling with big spend budgets now. So that's why, like, like how do we write prompts? How do we get the right prompts? Because I think the real thing with AI is going to be, of course, there's going to be people that lose their jobs, but there's the people that kind of understand what's happening and become like the prompt orchestrators, learning how to use AI efficiently. That's going to be the huge emerging world. Like, how do you, like, because you're going to be able to track things and you'll be able to like create spreadsheets. I mean, it's just amazing, really is.
It's totally amazing, Bo, what you're saying, and so true. And, copywriters will be there. Maybe they can serve more people. They can get that first draft, which it took them so long to put together, right from ChatGPT, which they probably already do. So I think it will cut down maybe some jobs, but maybe even give more power and get them to serve more people at a cheaper price, rather than charging 40,000 for doing these things at 10,000 or 20, they could do cheaper and then so on. The key thing also is to use this. Let's not be outside the AI world. It's kind of like the internet. How many people are using internet or voicemail? I remember many, many years back when my company started voicemail, they said, should we incorporate that? Video conferencing. How many people did not use that? Now it's so prominent. So AI is something we should not be left outside. It's very easy to do. I have a question. When we say to write or put together an image, is it generated? Is it a copy of something which was generated? Plagiarism comes into effect. So, Ravana, share something about that. I mean, how can we really safeguard ourselves and then not using too many emojis? I know I was seeing so many emojis being put, myself included, my team was doing, then we cut it down.
Yeah. I mean, it just comes back to your audience. It's funny when you were talking about plagiarism, there is now an AI tool that well, there's probably several, but there are AI tools that now are able to look at your content and see if it is available anywhere so that you can give the adequate nod or take off, right, the images. And this is where I think, brands like Getty, right, are thinking very heavily about how do I make sure that my imagery now isn't showing up in all these generative tools and are now being exposed, right? So I think that there is, it's always great when innovation is ahead of regulation because it allows you to get a little bit further ahead, before things start to get regulated. I do think, though, when you were referencing people and jobs, I think that's been probably one of the greatest concerns, particularly in the world of marketing, is that it's going to make people's roles redundant. But, they thought that about newspapers too. And the reality is newspapers still exist. They've had to evolve their business model, right? But the news hasn't gone away as a result of the proliferation of digital. And it's going to be the same for, as you mentioned, for a lot of brands. I agree. I think that there's going to be a change within the type of talent that you now need as a result of AI. But AI is probably not going to be able to write today, maybe in the future it will, that evergreen content, Bo, that you were talking about. Like, the way that your customer, the way that that they want to hear from you, right? At some point, people don't even want to talk to virtual assistants once they know it's a virtual assistant. So I don't believe the role of the human is going to go away. What I do think, though, is that the proliferation of your evergreen content may now be generated by AI. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You still have a role to play. There still has to be vetting, on your side. So I think that it's hopefully going to engineer some different ways of thinking and different business models. And for an entrepreneur, this is a very good thing. Very, very good thing.
I love it. Actually, in Las Vegas, somebody met me, this company, they want to make a mini Vinney. I said, what? They said, yeah, we'll be able to put everything, all your books, all your articles, all your videos into this ChatGPT or whatever system they got. And now all over the world, people can interact with mini Vinney. There'll be millions of mini Vinney and they can ask me questions and get answers. And then they said, we could even impersonate you. so that you are talking to them. They will know not. That's where the trouble is. I know I just came across this article, which is mind-boggling. I don't want anybody to use my face.
Yeah. Well, that's the risk. And so they've actually been discussing that a lot about heading into election year, right? In terms of being able to use avatar-like subjects to be able to present politicians in certain ways, and people not being able to decipher what's factual versus not. So I think that there's also a role here of the digital channels that we all use. What is their obligation on fact checking and ensuring that, that what we're seeing is real? Again, I don't think we have answers. We just have a lot of questions around that.
For sure, for sure. It's been so much fun to have you on the show. And thanks. How can people reach you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, so if you look up my name, please feel free to add me. I'd be more than happy, to answer questions as you guys post this content up. If there are people that would like some questions answered, I'd be more than happy to help.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.